Okay, we also did, for our next assignment, we did some experimenting with type. For this, instead of opening a file, just start from the new file, new, okay, and set a size that you like. It really isn't critical what size you use, 10 inches wide, or how did we do it? 8 inches wide and 10 inches high, I think is what we decided. We set the resolution up just a little bit so we can enlarge it if we want to. We used a white background, and I think that's what we called it, was type experiments. Okay, so here we are with a new blank file in Photoshop. We usually are doing photo editing, but here we are working with just a big blank file. I'll start with my type tool here, and I'll just click and type in something that seems appropriate for a raster image, for a raster graphics class. Something like that, maybe. And maybe pick a font that seems a little more exciting. I'm going to use a really bold. I would suggest that for you too. Use something really bold. There's Rockwell Extra Bold. That's pretty bold. Okay. Actually, let's see what else there is. I think there's a regular Rockwell Extra Bold. My scroll's not working. Lost it. Rockwell. Yeah, there we go. Extra bold's okay. There's also a Rockwell that has a bold option here too. Okay, so now I've got some type there. I'll bring it up. Remember, scaling, scaling, scaling. Always hold the Shift key down, and I'll commit to that. All right, now you can make a bunch of copies of this if you like. I'm going to hold the Option key down as I drag, and just keep holding the Option key down. I can make copies like this. Actually, if you start at the bottom, then Option and drag up, your Layers panel will kind of correspond with the examples you've made here. You don't have to just keep using the same word. If you want to change the words, it's okay with me. But you can see I'm making a bunch of copies. I'd like for you to do at least 10. There's 9. And there's, oops, you can't grab it by the middle. Got to hold the Option key down first. There you go. If you're going to make copies. Now, we've talked about selecting multiple items and how you get these alignment panels and these distribute panels. If you feel like that's helpful, they're all there for you. You can go to your text panel, the one that's called character, and you can set some of these so that they're all caps, and you can set some of them so that they're maybe italic. They have one for caps and small caps. Not very good ones actually. Anyway, you can try some of those if you like. See if you like any of those. There's underscore and a whole bunch of others. Okay. Now, you can also, while you're at it, if you use the text tool and triple click, you can change the color of some of these. And you have to commit after each one. Blue. You have to commit after each one. Okay. Don't mess with that 3D for now. We'll be looking at 3D here pretty soon. Triple click. Let's see what else we got over here. There's a color, some good color. Okay, now you don't have to change the color on these because actually you can change the color on the fly if you prefer. And here's what I mean. If If you look, each one of these now has a layer, and if you double click next to the layer, next to the name, it will take you into this layer style panel, and each one of these will address a different change to the type, and you can change any color type to any other color using color overlay. Now there is some blending modes here that work better if the type is already colored. Okay, and then there's some options here for how red you want to make it, dark red or light red. Okay, you can change the color to something else. Now it's green with black underneath it. So you've got some adjustment that way. Okay, you can also add shadows and different things to it. Here's a bevel and emboss. I'm going to move up just a little bit closer here. The bevel and emboss activates as soon as you click on the button. You can also add contour with your bevel and emboss. You can add texture. You can maybe see some texture in there now. Now, if you click on the word bevel and emboss, you'll get a whole bunch of other options too. You can change the depth of the inner bevel, change the size of it. You can soften it up. Finding a kind of sweet spot for different stuff here. You can change the opacity again. That's not doing much, is it? How about the shadow opacity? That does. Okay. These each have those same blending modes that we've looked at before, so you can try some of those, and some of them work better than others. Okay. All right. You can change the highlight mode. That's probably not a very good choice, but you can change. You have a whole bunch of options here for changing kind of the way it looks. Okay, now the shadow is kind of a purple. This didn't do much. Let's see if I, maybe, I ought to pick something besides there. Now it's a pale green. Let's try yellow. See what that does to it. Now you can kind of see a little yellow cast in there, but not much. There you can really see it. Okay. You can change the way the light falls on it. Okay, you probably do want to leave this selected so that if you do other objects on the page, they'll all have a similar light direction, makes them look a little bit better. Okay, so I just added all of these effects to this one. Okay, if you will do this for me as you change these, if you'll put bevel, emboss, and color, just so they all don't have the same label, the same name. Raster Graphics 7, Raster Graphics 1. You see how they all have kind of the same name? So you can change that for me if you would. Okay, now, so you can do that over and over. A little bit of this goes a long ways. You can change the color. You can maybe give it, if you click on the word color, you can change it to a different color. Okay. You can add other details to it, like drop shadow. Again, if you click on the word drop shadow, now you can change some of these settings so the drop shadow is more dramatic, or just kind of spreads out, or change the size of it so it actually has the effect of kind of softening it up. You can change the opacity of the drop shadow. You can even change the blending mode of the drop shadow, and sometimes it sort of doesn't really help much. Okay. All right. I was about to say a little of this goes a long way, so be really careful. You can do things that are counter, that don't make logical sense. In other words, this is supposed to look like the type is above the page and is casting a shadow. So if you also do something like an outer glow, it can actually kind of defeat the purpose of the other effects. So just be careful about the ones that you use in combination. There's all kinds of stuff, and some of them don't do much and some of them do. Okay, so just be really careful with them, and I do experiment with them. Like there's a good example. If I put an inner shadow and I have a drop shadow at the same time, it doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Okay, so you want to make sure you don't do that. Do one or the other, but not both. And see, and that looks really good. Okay, again, once you add it, if you don't mind just changing the name so it reflects what you did to it, you can close these up and save space on your desktop. And that when you do that, it'll be nice to have that new name. Okay, let's look at some other things that you can do. I've got, I mentioned the type. I mentioned the type panel, and a lot of these things work better on all caps. Okay, so you may need to resize in order to make it work, so it'll fit on the page. Okay, one of them that works better in all caps is are a lot of these warps. Now, if you select it, and if you look here under type, and where is it? Warp text. There it is. I had a little trouble locating it there. You can really change the whole personality of the type as you put type on a curve. All caps is much better on type on a curve, at least type that has no descenders. So if your type has a P in it, it kind of spoils the effect of the curve. Okay, so I'm just saying some of these are better if you'll make it all caps. Okay, all right. So you can warp type. There's a million things here with the warp that you can try. Some of them are ridiculous, and so you ought to not maybe use those. At least not to a point where they are impossible to read. Just because you can do it doesn't mean it's a good idea. It's better if we'll use it in a subtle kind of a way that you can still read it. Some of these will make it bigger on either end. Again, all caps is better for that too. Okay, fisheye. There's just a whole bunch, or it looks bloated in the middle. Again, you go so far and you can't read it. So make sure that it's still legible, but of course have fun with it and try the different things. There's a lower arc, an upper arc. And you see these all the time, don't you? And like in sports graphics and things like that. Okay, so do try all that stuff and find something that you like. Okay. Now, keep in mind that you can also do other things to these beyond those warp options. If I press Command T, that's our free transform. You can do all the stuff that you can do with free transform. Rotating and skewing, and warping, so it has a kind of a grill over it. Actually, that one does not look like it wants to work. It may be that since it's already warped, it's not going to let you do that. Rotate, easy to do. Scale is pretty easy. You can do that with your selection tool. Okay, but you can flip it, you can skew it, you can do a few other things. Okay, now it's everything that you do to it is going to be a commit. You can add to warped type the same stuff that you can do with the layer styles. Okay, you can also for working with type, if you rasterize the type, it's under layer, rasterize type. Now it's essentially a photograph, and so you can change the opacity. Now you can erase through it. If you wanted to, for some reason. Okay. Sometimes straight lines kind of look pretty good through type. I also use it sometimes if I just want to take a little bit off, you know, like take a circle off or something like that. Okay, you can make a big eraser, and when you click, it just takes out little divots like that. If you want a hard edge, make it a hard edge. You can do stuff like that. Okay, so just experiment with all this stuff and then have fun with it. Now you can also add your you could also do your filter stuff, where you can stylize and sharpen and liquefy and all this stuff that that we've looked at before. Okay, filter gallery. You can change it into different types of textures. And here again, try to pick stuff that is compatible with it and that you can still read. Okay, that did not change because I think I have added that color. Let's see, there you go. How about that? So sometimes they work against each other and you just have to be really careful with it. Okay, do a bunch of these for me. You can also do this. If you have one that's in all caps, remember you do that through your type, through the character panel. You can scale it down. Hold your shift key. Option and click. Whoops, you don't want to click on the middle of it. Okay. And I'm going to have to not commit. Okay. Because I forgot to commit the first time. So commit, option, click, and you can do things like this where you turn a layer upside down. You free transform, skew, free transform scale. Okay. And you can make what essentially looks like a shadow on the ground in front. You just change your text to something darker. And it kind of looks like light passing through the type and over a shadow. You can also take that and fill it with a gradient if you want to. Okay. Use your gradient options on that. Okay, so just a lot of different things you can do. Have fun and do a bunch of different types of blending of layer styles, of warping, of flipping upside down, of special effects. Just do some really nice things. Now they also have a vertical type tool that's pretty neat that you can do. So you can do vertical stack type, and it just works like this. Okay, I never recommend that you do more than one word with vertical stacks. So I'll observe that same rule myself. You can do things like that as well. Okay, same old stuff with regard to this. Just triple click and you can change its colors and do anything you want to with it. Just as easy as that. Do some things with type. If you need more canvas, just crop and you got more canvas. All right.